The first signs of trouble came on a quiet Tuesday morning. Space Station Liberty sensors picked up unusual energy readings just beyond lunar orbit. The station's chief officer, Kate Myers, had seen many strange things during her 15 years in space, but nothing like this. She was reviewing the sensor data when the emergency alarms blared through the station. A massive ship had appeared out of nowhere, its dark hull absorbing light like a black hole. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built, stretching nearly 2 miles from end to end. Before Kate could finish her emergency broadcast to Earth, 4 more ships appeared. Their designs were alien, all sharp angles and strange geometries that seemed to hurt the eyes if you looked at them too long. "This is Commander Kate Myers of Space Station Liberty to all Earth defense stations," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "We have multiple unknown vessels in orbit. They show no signs of human origin. This is not a drill." The alien ships moved with impossible grace for their size. They positioned themselves in a perfect pentagon formation around Earth's orbit. Then, silence. No communication, no movement, nothing for 6 long hours. Earth's government scrambled to respond. Military satellites turned their cameras toward the vessels. Fighter pilots sat in their cockpits, waiting for orders. The whole world held its breath. The message, when it finally came, appeared on every screen on Earth and in orbit. It didn't come through normal communication channels. It simply appeared, as if by magic. The words were in perfect English, yet somehow felt wrong, like they had been pulled directly from human minds. "Primitive species of Earth, we are the Kraxan Empire. Your technological development has been monitored and found wanting. You will surrender your planet and resources to superior management. Resistance is inadvisable. You have 6 Earth hours to comply." In Washington, D.C., the United Nations convened an emergency session. Representatives from every nation gathered, their faces pale with worry. Kate Myers, having been rushed back to Earth by emergency shuttle, stood before them with her sensor data and recordings. "The Kraxan ships possess technology we can't even begin to understand," she explained, pointing to her readings. "Their hulls are made of materials that don't match anything on our periodic table. Their energy outputs are off the charts. But there's something else that concerns me even more." She pulled up a decoded transmission she'd captured just before leaving the station. "They've been talking among themselves. Our computers managed to crack a small portion of their communications. They don't just think we're primitive, they think we're too simple-minded to even be worth talking to. They see us as children playing with toys." The room erupted in angry mutters. Admiral Bill Carter of the U.S. Navy stood up. "So they think we're stupid. That we'll just roll over and give up our planet. They expect us to surrender without a fight," Kate said, "because in their view, fighting back would be—" She paused, looking at the translation again. "Impossible for beings of our limited cognitive capacity." The word impossible hung in the air. Kate saw something change in the faces around her. Anger replaced fear. Determination pushed aside doubt. She knew that look. She'd seen it countless times throughout human history. It was the look humans got when someone told them something couldn't be done. The President of the United States took the podium. His face was grim but resolute. "Then we'll have to show them how humanity deals with impossible things. Commander Myers, you'll head up our initial response team. I want every scrap of data we have on these ships, and I want it yesterday." As Kate left the chamber, alerts lit up her phone. The Kraxan had destroyed a small research satellite with a weapon that seemed to fold space itself. It was a demonstration, a flex of their technological muscles. But they had made a crucial mistake. They had underestimated humanity's greatest strength. The stubborn refusal to accept limitations, the fierce determination that sparked to life whenever someone said the word impossible. Kate looked up at the sky, knowing those alien ships were up there, waiting. They thought they knew what humanity would do. They thought they could predict how a primitive species would react. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Dr. Peter Collins hadn't slept in 3 days. The lunar research base's coffee machine had broken down, but he barely noticed. His eyes were fixed on the data streaming across his screen, showing brainwave patterns from both human and alien sources. The aliens had started scanning Earth shortly after their arrival. What they didn't know was that their scans worked both ways. Every probe they sent gave Peter more information about how their minds worked, and what he was seeing made him sit up straighter in his chair. "Linda, come look at this," he called to his research partner. Dr. Linda Baker had been studying human consciousness for 20 years. She walked over, holding her tablet like a shield. "The alien brains process information in completely straight lines," Peter said, pointing to his screen. "See these patterns? No quantum fluctuations, no uncertainty. It's all predictable." Linda leaned closer. "And the human patterns?" Peter pulled up another image. The human brain waves looked like a dance of lightning, jumping between quantum states in ways that shouldn't be possible. "We're different. Our minds don't just think. They quantum leap between possibilities. We see connections that their minds literally cannot process." The base's communication system crackled. "Dr. Collins, this is Commander Myers. We're receiving reports that the Kraxen have started moving troops to Mars. We need answers." Peter took a deep breath. "Commander, I think I found something. Their brains are like supercomputers, incredibly powerful, but they can only think in straight lines. They can't handle quantum uncertainty the way human brains can." There was a pause on the line. "Explain it like I'm 5, Doctor." "They're smart, but they can only think one way. Humans can think in ways they can't even understand. It's like we're playing 3D chess, while they can only play in 2D. The implications hit everyone at once. Linda spoke first. "That's why they think we're primitive. They can't understand how we think, so they assume we don't think at all." More data poured in as the Kraxen continued their scans. Each new piece confirmed Peter's theory. The aliens' technology was incredible, but it was all based on linear thinking. They had never developed quantum computing because their minds couldn't grasp the underlying concepts. Commander Myers' voice came back, excited now. "Could this be why their ships move in such rigid patterns? Why their attacks are so predictable?" Peter nodded, even though she couldn't see him. "Exactly. They can't handle uncertainty. Their entire civilization is built on absolute predictability. They literally cannot imagine solutions that involve quantum mechanics." Linda was already running simulations. "Look at this. When faced with a quantum paradox, their computing systems just stop. They can't process it. It's like dividing by zero for them." The base shook as something exploded on the surface. The Kraxen were getting closer. But Peter couldn't stop smiling. He had found humanity's edge. "Commander," he said, "we need to start thinking impossible thoughts. We need to design weapons and defenses that work on quantum principles, things their minds literally cannot predict or understand." "How long do you need?" Peter looked at his team. Everyone nodded. "Give us 48 hours. And Commander, we're going to need every creative thinker you can find. Artists, musicians, kids, anyone who can think outside the box. The crazier the ideas, the better." As the connection closed, Peter turned to his team. "The Kraxen think we're primitive because we don't think like them. But that's not our weakness. It's our strength. They expect the impossible to stay impossible. Let's show them how humanity does the impossible before breakfast." The lunar base hummed with new energy as the team got to work. Outside, the stars sparkled with quantum uncertainty, a sight that would drive a Kraxen mad, but to human eyes, it was simply beautiful. Somewhere up there, the aliens were making their plans, confident in their superior technology. They had no idea what was coming. After all, it was impossible. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Lisa Chen walked through a maze of underground tunnels. The walls were lined with a mix of human and alien technology, creating strange shadows that danced in the dim light. Her footsteps echoed as she made her way to the main development bay. Project Mercury had been set up in less than a week. The facility used to be a Cold War bunker, but now it housed humanity's best chance at survival. Engineers and scientists worked around the clock, trying to combine stolen alien tech with human intuition. "How's the neural interface coming along?" Lisa asked as she entered the main lab. Her team looked tired but excited. They had been working nonstop since Dr. Collins sent his findings about human quantum thinking. Steve Brown, her best electronics expert, looked up from a tangle of wires and crystals. "We got it working, boss, but not the way we expected." He pointed to a screen showing brain wave patterns. "The alien tech doesn't just connect with human minds. It transforms when we use it, like it's learning to think the way we do." Lisa walked over to the test station. They had salvaged parts from a crashed Kraxan scout ship, including their navigation system. But when humans tried to use it, something strange happened. "Show me," she said. Steve put on the neural headset. The alien crystals in the device glowed softly. On the screen, the straight, predictable patterns of alien technology began to shift and dance. They started showing the same quantum leaps they had seen in human brain scans. "It's like the technology is upgrading itself," another engineer said, "learning to think in quantum states just by connecting with human minds." A warning siren blared through the facility. Lisa rushed to the command center. The main screen showed Mars, where the Kraxan had established their base. They were launching something big. Commander Myers appeared on the emergency channel. "Lisa, tell me you have something. They're sending a fleet toward Earth." "We have a prototype ready," Lisa said, "but it's not what we planned. The alien tech, it's adapting to us, working in ways the Kraxan never imagined possible." "Will it fly?" Lisa looked at her team. They all nodded. "Yes, but we need a pilot, someone who can think creatively under pressure. The interface requires someone who can embrace quantum uncertainty. I'm sending Lieutenant Foster. She's the best pilot we have, and she's been practicing with the simulator you sent." The next few hours were a blur of activity. They installed the hybrid systems in a modified human fighter. The ship looked strange now. Part Earth technology, part alien crystal, all of it pulsing with an inner light that shouldn't have been possible. Lieutenant Amy Foster arrived just as they finished the final checks. She was young for a test pilot, but her eyes showed the same determined spark that Lisa had seen in all the best human pioneers. "They say this ship thinks like us now," Amy said, running her hand along the crystalline hull. Lisa nodded. The Kraxan built their technology to be perfect and predictable, but when it connects with human minds, it learns to see new possibilities. Every time you think of a new way to fly, the ship will learn with you. Amy climbed into the cockpit. The neural interface activated, filling the ship with shifting patterns of light. "What if something goes wrong?" "That's the beauty of it," Lisa said. "The Kraxan can't predict what we'll do because we don't even know ourselves. Their sensors will tell them that what we're doing is impossible." The launch countdown began. Above them, through miles of rock, the Kraxan fleet was getting closer. They had no idea that humans had not only learned to use their technology, but had taught it to evolve. "Remember," Lisa said as the launch doors opened, "impossible is just another word for something humanity hasn't done yet." The ship rose into the air, humming with power that defied alien logic. It was time to show the galaxy what impossible really meant. Lieutenant Amy Foster felt the ship come alive around her. The neural interface tingled at the base of her skull as she soared through the clouds. Below her, the Rocky Mountains looked like tiny wrinkles on the Earth's surface. Above, the stars beckoned. "Test Flight 1 is go," she reported. "All systems are responding. It's like the ship is reading my mind before I even finish my thoughts." In the underground control room, Lisa Chen watched the readings with growing excitement. The hybrid technology was working better than anyone had expected. Every move Amy made taught the ship new ways to think. "Take her up to the test zone," Lisa instructed. "Let's see what she can really do." Amy pushed the throttle forward. The ship responded instantly, climbing faster than any human aircraft ever built. The sky darkened as she reached the edge of space. Warning lights flashed as she approached the speed limit they had calculated. "I'm at maximum safe velocity," Amy reported. But something felt different. The ship wasn't straining against the speed. It was almost eager to go faster. "The crystal matrix is showing new patterns. I think it wants to try something." Lisa checked her readings. The hybrid systems were pulsing with quantum energy. "What do you mean it wants to try something?" "It's hard to explain. It's like when you're dancing and suddenly think of a new move. The ship is suggesting possibilities I never would have imagined." Before anyone could respond, Amy felt a new pattern form in her mind. It was beautiful and strange, like a snowflake made of lightning. Without thinking, she let her thoughts follow the pattern. The ship vanished. In the control room, every alarm went off at once. Lisa jumped to her feet. "Amy? Amy, come in." For 3 terrifying seconds, there was no response. Then Amy's voice crackled through the speakers, filled with wonder. "You're not going to believe this. I'm behind the moon." "That's impossible," someone said. "It would take hours to reach lunar orbit." "No," Lisa whispered, staring at the quantum readings. "It's not impossible. It's just impossible for the Kraxan to imagine." "Amy, what exactly did you do?" "The ship showed me a pattern. A way to think about space that isn't straight. Instead of flying through space, I thought about folding it. Like making a paper airplane, but with reality." Dr. Peter Collins, who had been quietly observing from a corner, suddenly laughed. "She's created a quantum shortcut through space-time. The Kraxan could never do this because their minds can't handle the uncertainty involved. But a human mind, working with adapted alien tech. Can you do it again?" Lisa asked. "I think so. The pattern is clearer now. The ship remembers it too. It's like we invented a new dance move, and now we can't forget it." Over the next hour, Amy made dozens of jumps. Each one was faster and smoother than the last. She jumped to Mars and back in seconds. She danced between Earth's satellites without triggering a single proximity alarm. The ship learned with her, suggesting new patterns, new impossible moves. They called it the Phantom Drive, a way of moving through space that only worked if you could think in quantum possibilities. The Kraxan's sensors wouldn't even be able to track it because their minds couldn't process the underlying principles. "Bring her home," Lisa finally said. "We need to start building more ships immediately." As Amy landed, she could feel the ship's excitement matching her own. They had done more than create a new technology. They had proven that the impossible was just a word for something that hadn't been tried by human minds yet. In orbit, the Kraxan fleet continued its advance, unaware that humanity had just changed the rules of space itself. They still thought victory was certain, still believed humans were primitive and predictable. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Commander Kate Myers stood in Earth's new orbital command center, watching the Kraxan fleet approach. In the months since Amy's discovery of the Phantom Drive, they had built 30 new ships. Each one was piloted by someone chosen for their creativity and adaptability. "The Kraxan mothership has cleared Mars orbit," an officer reported. "Their fleet is moving in attack formation, exactly as their battle computers predicted they would." Kate smiled. The aliens were so sure of their victory that they hadn't even tried to hide their attack plans. Their computers had calculated every move, every strategy. But they couldn't calculate the impossible. "All Phantom Squadron pilots, check in," Kate ordered. Amy Foster's voice came first, followed by 29 others. They were hidden in the shadow of the moon, waiting. The Kraxan's message boomed through all channels. "Your time has expired. Surrender now, or face immediate destruction. You cannot hope to resist our superior technology." Kate took a deep breath. "Launch Operation Impossible. Show them what humanity can do." Amy's voice crackled through the comm. "Phantom Squadron, form up on me. Remember your training. Think the impossible, and the ships will follow." 30 ships appeared from nowhere, their hybrid hulls glowing with quantum energy. They moved in ways that broke every law of physics the Kraxan understood. Where the aliens expected straight lines, humans flew in curves that shouldn't exist. Where they predicted normal speeds, phantom drag ships slipped between moments of time. The Kraxan fleet stopped. Their sensors couldn't process what they were seeing. Their battle computers crashed, trying to calculate movements that their logic said were impossible. Squadron 2, take out their communication arrays, Amy ordered. Squadron 3, target their weapons. Don't give them time to adapt. Human ships danced through the Kraxan fleet like lightning through clouds. They appeared inside the alien shields, fired, and vanished before the Kraxan could respond. Some ships split into quantum possibilities, seeming to be in multiple places at once. In the command center, Lisa Chen watched the battle through quantum sensors she had designed. Their ships are trying to copy our movements, but they can't. Their minds won't let them accept the uncertainty required for quantum navigation. The Kraxan mothership launched fighters of its own. But these ships could only fly in straight, predictable lines. Against pilots who could fold space with a thought, they were hopeless. Their flagship is powering up its main weapon, an officer warned. Now, Amy, Kate ordered. Show them your special move. Amy's ship vanished. The Kraxan flagship's sensors couldn't track her as she appeared at multiple points around their hull, each appearance marking a crucial system with phantom drive energy. When she reappeared behind the massive ship, the energy points connected in a pattern that human minds could imagine but Kraxan computers could never calculate. The flagship's systems shut down, one by one. Not destroyed, but transformed by contact with quantum uncertainty. Its rigid, predictable technology simply couldn't handle the introduction of human-style thinking. Kraxan Fleet, Kate broadcast on all channels. Your flagship is disabled. Your fighters are outmatched. You based your attack on the assumption that we were primitive because we think differently than you. That was your mistake. The remaining Kraxan ships hung motionless in space. Their commanders faced something they had never encountered: the need to think beyond their perfect calculations. Lisa's sensors showed confusion spreading through the alien fleet. They're trying to understand how we did it, but they can't. To them, it's like trying to understand how to be surprised by something you already know. Send the message again, Kate ordered. This time, they might be ready to listen. The battle wasn't over, but something fundamental had changed. The Kraxan had learned that impossible was a word that meant very different things to different species, and humanity had proven that sometimes the best way to win wasn't to play by the rules. It was to imagine new ones. 1 week after the battle, the Grand Meeting Hall of the United Nations buzzed with tension. Humans and Kraxan sat on opposite sides of the room. The alien delegates looked uncomfortable in Earth's atmosphere, their metallic skin reflecting the lights above. Dr. Peter Collins stood at the center of the room, next to a simple wooden table. On the table sat two objects, a Rubik's Cube and a quantum computer. Lisa Chen stood beside him, carefully watching the Kraxan delegates' reactions. "We've prepared a demonstration," Peter said, his voice calm. "One that will help you understand why your assessment of humanity was wrong." The lead Kraxan delegate, who had introduced himself as High Commander Zix, spoke through their translation device. "Our assessment was based on your technological level. It was logical and correct." Peter picked up the Rubik's Cube. "This is a toy we give to our children. Please, try to solve it." The Kraxan delegates passed the cube among themselves. Their advanced neural scanners analyzed it from every angle. After 10 minutes, High Commander Zix placed it back on the table, unsolved. "The patterns are irregular," he said. "There is no logical sequence to follow." Peter handed the cube to a 12-year-old girl in the front row. She solved it in under a minute. "Now," Peter continued, pointing to the quantum computer, "this machine runs calculations using quantum uncertainty. Your own scientists have said such computers are impossible because quantum states cannot be controlled." Lisa typed a command, and the computer displayed a complex quantum equation. This is a problem your best AI systems have labeled unsolvable. Commander Kate Myers watched from her seat as Lisa invited the Kraxan scientists to examine the computer. Their sensors scanned every component, every quantum bit. Their faces showed increasing distress as they failed to understand how it worked. "Would you like to see the solution?" Lisa asked. She pressed another key, and the answer appeared. The Kraxan scientists rushed to verify it with their own devices. High Commander Zix stood up suddenly. "This cannot be correct. Yet our systems confirm it is." "How?" "The same way that girls solved the puzzle you couldn't," Peter explained. "Human minds don't just think in straight lines. We think in possibilities, in quantum leaps. We see patterns in chaos and find order in randomness." Amy Foster, who had been quietly watching, spoke up. "That's how we developed the Phantom Drive. We didn't just copy your technology. We taught it to think like us, to see possibilities you never imagined." The Kraxan delegates conferred among themselves in their clicking language. When they turned back, something had changed in their posture. For the first time, they looked uncertain. "We have received reports from other sectors," High Commander Zix said. "3 other species have requested alliances with Earth. They say your quantum thinking could revolutionize their own technologies." Kate stepped forward. "Then perhaps it's time to rethink your definition of primitive. Different doesn't mean inferior. It just means different." Lisa brought out more devices, human innovations that combined quantum thinking with everyday problems. Simple tools that worked in ways the Kraxan computers insisted were impossible. Each demonstration made the aliens' certainty crack a little more. "We propose a new arrangement," High Commander Zix finally said. "Not surrender, but partnership. Your quantum insight combined with our technological advancement could benefit both our species." The human delegates smiled. This was what they had hoped for, not just victory, but understanding. The Kraxan were learning that true intelligence wasn't about following logical paths, but about finding new ones. As the diplomatic teams began working out the details, Peter watched the young girl still playing with the Rubik's Cube. She was trying to solve it with her eyes closed now, just to see if she could. That, he thought, was humanity in a nutshell, always trying the impossible, just to see what would happen. 6 months after the peace treaty, the New Earth Space Academy opened its doors. The building was a perfect blend of human and alien design, with clean Kraxan lines mixed with flowing human architecture. Crystal windows sparkled in the morning sun as the first class of students arrived. Commander Kate Myers stood at the podium, looking out at the mixed crowd. Human pilots sat next to Kraxan engineers. Scientists from a dozen alien species filled the back rows, all drawn by humanity's quantum breakthrough. "Welcome to the first day of impossible things," Kate began. 6 months ago, we were considered too primitive to join the galactic community. Today, we're teaching the community how to think in new ways." In the front row, Amy Foster smiled. She was now the head instructor for Phantom Drive navigation. Her students would learn to dance between stars and fold space with their thoughts. Next to her sat Lisa Chen, who had turned the hybrid technology lab into a center for innovative research. "The universe is bigger than any one way of thinking," Kate continued. "The Kraxan taught us about advanced technology. We taught them about quantum possibilities. Now, together, we're discovering things that neither of us could have imagined alone." Dr. Peter Collins watched from his new quantum research center next door. The building hummed with energy as human and alien minds worked together, combining logical precision with quantum creativity. On his desk sat the same Rubik's Cube from the peace talks, now a symbol of how different kinds of intelligence could complement each other. Through the window, he could see ships taking off, some following straight Kraxan flight paths, others dancing with Phantom Drive patterns. Each species flew the way that made sense to their minds, and somehow it all worked together. "Today's students will become tomorrow's explorers," Kate said. "You'll go further than any human or Kraxan has gone before. You'll solve problems using both logic and intuition. You'll make the impossible possible, not just because you can, but because you can imagine it. The crowd clapped as Kate introduced the first team of instructors. Humans would teach quantum thinking and creative problem-solving. Kraxan would teach advanced physics and engineering. Other alien species would share their own unique ways of understanding the universe. In orbit, the old space station Liberty had been rebuilt. It was now a hub for interstellar trade and cultural exchange. Ships from across the galaxy docked there, bringing new ideas and new challenges. Each visitor learned that Earth wasn't just another planet. It was a place where the impossible happened every day. Remember, Kate said as she finished her speech, the word impossible means something different to every species. That's not a weakness. It's our greatest strength. Together, we can see problems from angles no one else has tried. We can find solutions that no single species could discover alone. As the ceremony ended, Amy took her first class of pilots to the simulator room. Lisa headed to her lab where new hybrid technologies were waiting to be discovered. Peter turned back to his quantum research, where each day brought new mysteries to solve. The universe was vast and full of impossible things, but now humanity had found its place in it. They weren't the most advanced species, or the most logical, or the most powerful. They were something better. They were the ones who looked at the impossible and saw possibilities. And that, as the Kraxan had learned, made all the difference in the galaxy.